On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome inside episode 394 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Pillar up in the Blue Mountains, and the Ottawa Senators are on the ice. I repeat, there is action on the ice at the Canadian Tire Center. Group A just wrapping up their scrimmage as I'm talking now, and soon Group B will get out there for a scrimmage, and later on the third group. So we'll let you know who's in each one. We've got some early line combinations, and then we'll turn our attention to yesterday's season opening press conference from DJ Smith and Pierre Dorion, where, as expected, they were tight-lipped surrounding the Brady Tkachuk negotiations, but DJ did give some insight into how the lineup will start preseason. Finally, we'll get back to our organizational value rankings, tease a big guest tomorrow, and breaking news regarding Matt Murray, all that and more. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day. Today is Thursday, September 23rd, and Pilsy, it's the first day of training camp. We're in the best shape of our life. And Pierre Dorion, DJ Smith spoke to the media for about half an hour yesterday. What was your main takeaway from their answers?
Well, first off, I wish I could have someone saying that I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm probably in the worst shape of my life. Yeah, but truthfully, like actually trying to say it and convince people. But well, for a podcaster, I'd say I'm in okay shape. A podcaster, you can get a real bent out of shape. So
just
that's
don't move the camera down anymore. Save us.
Yeah, that's definitely the play. But as far as from what Pierre Dorion and DJ Smith had to say in their presser, that was a great presser too. About a half hour worth of stuff. I think probably the thing that was most intriguing to me, and is something we're going to get into today, is them pretty much naming that Chris Tierney will be the guy starting off in that second centerman spot. And I mean, from a fan perspective, and Ross, you can get into the poll numbers that we did on Twitter at Sens Central. That's definitely not reflective of what the fans want. However, it does make sense. He has the most NHL experience. He's a guy that, you know, if they start him out there and it doesn't work out, it's not like detrimental, right? Chris Tierney's not a part of this team's long-term future. You're not going to worry about ruining your investment of Chris Tierney if he loses confidence or whatever. So, and plus, this is the DJ Smith model, right? We saw this last year. Get Derek Stepan in there as a second-line center, and then the young kids, they're going to be motivated to beat him out of that spot, and they have to earn that spot over a veteran like that. So if that's the game they want to play, then sure, let Chris Tierney have his 10 games at second-line center until Shane Pinto or someone else is able to overcome him and take that spot from him.
But we saw last year, what did he go, 40 games without a goal, give or take, after having 3 goals in his first 4 games?
100% shooting success, 3 for 3 to start things off.
Oh my God. But it is reminiscent of Derek Stepan. I'm glad you made that comparison, because they're two guys whose foot speed is not their number one attribute, but you're having him center your 2 fastest players, give or take, between Stützle and Connor Brown. So to me, it's just not a fit in terms of how DJ Smith likes to play. And there was an overwhelming sense from DJ Smith and Pierre Dorion that they want to keep the ball rolling from how they finished last year. 10-3-1, 9-2-1 if you want to, get the losses down, the 1-1 to start after the trade deadline. But why shake things up then from the D pairs that seemingly are going right into a blender from how they finished off? They had their best success with Mete and Brandstrom on the left side with Thomas Chabot, and now you're looking at a situation where maybe only one of them is in the lineup on opening night. And then at forward, that Shane Pinto trio between Stützle and Connor Brown was working wonders. So I just don't get why you're changing things up. And then to insert the guy who you had as a healthy scratch in game 56 last year, it's mind-boggling to me. I guess salary would be the one counter argument that dictates that. Or, as I mentioned off the top, best shape of your life season. It sounds like, by all accounts, Chris Tierney came into camp in that, but shouldn't all players? Like, to me, this is a no-brainer, and I'll let you react to that, and then I'll pull up the poll here. If you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate that as well, and we'll get those numbers to you shortly.
Well, first off, Ross, I want to say that's probably the first time ever I've been thanked for a Derek Stepan comparison. I've not done very well with Derek Stepan comparisons in the past, so
long-time listeners will get that one.
Yeah, I'm glad I finally got a Derek Stepan comparison that worked out. Awesome, great news for me. A little pat on the back. But then, as far as the Tierney stuff goes, I'm not sure if you can really say that he was a healthy scratch at the end of the season. It made DJ Smith and Pierre Dorion, I forget who said it, but they made it seem like he had a lingering injury at the end of the year there. So whether that's true or not, or that's what they're telling themselves and what they're telling Chris Tierney, why they gave Logan Brown a chance there instead. But I think you got to give, if you're going to mess around with the lines, I agree with what you said. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why are you changing the lines when it was working so successfully last year? If you're going to try to mix up the lines and try to tinker with it, this is the time to do it, right? I'd rather they try it, and in practice, DJ Smith is going, wow, I forgot that Chris Tierney cannot keep up with Tim Stützle on the ice. Like, this is just not going to work in a game. Fine. Figure that out now. Don't figure that out at the home opener against the Maple Leafs and you're down 2-0 because Chris Tierney wasn't able to keep up with the pace, and then you switch the lines mid-games. Don't do that. So in that sense, I guess it's all right to be tinkering now, but we're going to see that really until Brady Tkachuk signs and is inserted back into this lineup, into his rightful place, the lines we're going to see now are kind of superficial, right? They're not set in stone because this whole thing is going to shift. And also, I'd like to point out, we pretty much had the exact same reasoning why you have Nick Paul on the left wing as DJ Smith. Like, when he was giving his answer there, I was like, does he have to credit us there? Like, he basically said exactly what we said, why Nick Paul is there. So that's great that we're on the same page there.
What I noted too, Ian Mendes' latest, always a must read in The Athletic, saying, if I'm Nick Paul's agent, I'm keeping those clips because he's due for a contract after this year. 1.35 is his AAV right now. They're talking about him like he should be in the running to be captain.
Well, and also, how about new nickname alert? The Disciple for Nick Paul. That is, I don't know. Part of me is like, that's super cool. And then part of me is like, that's not that cool. Like, anytime like you have a religious based nickname, it's usually not that great. But, well, hey, McJesus, that one worked out. So maybe I'm not so dead on there.
Nick Paul does it all. Just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, it's so much better. And that's what the guys say. So that's what the kids are saying. The parents are calling him the Disciple. But the name,
front of the bus.
Yeah, that's the front of the bus nickname. Yeah, I love that. But it does make sense. Like, really, Nick Paul he's a disciple. Like, everyone else should be following along what he's doing, practicing as hard as he is, being as flexible as he is, understanding that, hey, maybe it's going to take 5 years up and down through the AHL till I finally find my stride. And like you said, Nick Paul's agent has got to love those comments because it's a contract year for him. And I think he's going to get not a massive raise, but we could be looking somewhere around the $2 million mark for Nick Paul. I'd be comfortable with that.
Yeah, wearing number 21. So when you don't see number 13 out there, he switched the often used number 21 as it went from Logan Brown to Derek Stepan, and now Nick Paul claiming that. But let's get back to Chris Tierney briefly. We'll touch on a couple more things regarding Pierre Dorion, DJ Smith's press conference before we turn our attention to the on-ice sessions that are ongoing right now. Some news regarding Matt Murray, some line combinations, and then finally back to our organizational value rankings. And we finish up today with number 10, who happens to be on the show tomorrow. So all that coming up at Pilsy. Here's the reaction from Twitter. As we're through 610 votes, we asked at Sens Central, who would you like to see start as the Sens second line center? Chris Tierney, 2%. 2% of Sens Twitter wants to see Chris Tierney get that opportunity first. Colin White, 15.6%. Shane Pinto, the overwhelming favorite here, as a majority, 53% want him. And then 29.5% are saying Logan Brown. Now, there's a ton of great reasoning behind why people are saying others. Lots of people writing in saying, you know what, at least start him there and see in regards to either Tierney or Logan Brown, because then you can pump their trade value a bit. What would your reaction be to people who are saying that? I
would say it makes a lot of sense. Like, at this point, Logan Brown is all but gone. Like, I think you're just waiting for a proper deal to come along. And then Chris Tierney, similar situation. Like, I think the Sens are holding on to Chris Tierney because he's a good guy to, you feel comfortable with. You don't love him, you don't hate him, you're comfortable with him. So keep him around until you find the right deal or until the trade deadline comes. So, and both of those players are in need of a boost in trade value if you're looking to trade them. Like, their trade value has gone down last season. So, I mean, that makes sense. And the thing is, I think I saw a couple fans making the argument is we know what Chris Tierney is. We know what he looks like beside Tim Stützle. We've seen this show before. We don't need a season 2 of Chris Tierney, Tim Stützle episodes. We've got that. We're done with that. So I think if you're going to give guys a chance, like, there's a small percentage of me that thinks, yeah, Colin White should deserve a chance, but I also feel like he has been given those chances and it hasn't worked out, and people just need to give up on the idea that he's going to be a more offensive force and that eventually he's going to be a top 6 center. I don't see that as the case, which is fine. It's just a readjustment that's going to happen here. And then Shane Pinto, he should be the guy leading that vote. He is the most successful candidate in that role, in that second line position. So it makes a lot of sense. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. All I can say is I'm very confident that Shane Pinto will play the majority of second line center this season. Maybe he doesn't start there. Maybe he doesn't stay there consistently to get things going. But I think as the 82 game season rolls along, and man, I forgot what a grind an 82 game season is going to be like.
We haven't seen one since we started doing this show every day.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's been a while since we've had that many games. So there's a lot of time for these storylines to play out and for things to change. So what we see now, don't get too invested in it and don't get too worried. Like I said, like, Brady Tkachuk's not here. This whole lineup is way off.
Pilsy, I'm selfishly not wanting to see Chris Tierney between Stützle and Connor Brown on Sunday in Winnipeg when we're at the game. First preseason game coming this Sunday, and we are fired up to be in attendance. Hey, if you're in Winnipeg, you're going to be at the game, shoot us a message. We'd love to meet up, have a beer with anybody who listens to the show. And thank you for making Locked On Senators your first listen of the day or view. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do on YouTube. You can also listen on all podcast apps from Apple, Google, Spotify, or on the Odyssey app. Okay, also of note, the Ottawa Senators announcing that everybody in the organization on an NHL contract working in the facilities are all fully vaccinated, and that's amazing. Great news. Can't say the same for the Edmonton Oilers. They have the lone player in Canada who's decided not to get vaccinated, and one of his teammates has to sit out the year because of a heart condition that he contracted. Alex Stalock, the goalie in Edmonton, cannot play. And Josh Archibald, don't even want to pronounce his name right, the selfish player who's unvaccinated. And there's a couple guys in the States, most notably Tyler Bertuzzi, and they can't travel to Canada for games. So talk about, this is an NHL league that suspends players for missing a team meeting because it's detrimental to the team. Well, I'd say this is a little bit worse. But anyways, not here nor there, but great to hear, Pilsy, that all Senators are fully vaccinated.
Yeah, and I think it just provides some relief. There's not an extra storyline we're talking about here, right? I think that would be the hardest thing. And for we don't need to get too into it from a political standpoint, but if you're the Edmonton Oilers, and like you said, there's someone that is firsthand seriously affected by COVID, and then there's someone that for whatever reasons is deciding not to get vaccinated, that's got to be an awkward situation in the locker room. And I just feel so bad for, Connor McDavid is going to have to answer questions about that. And he's like, what? I don't know. What am I supposed to say? Ask them if you want to hear about it. So I'm just glad that that's a situation the Ottawa Senators don't need to deal with. And my recommendation to everyone, do your research, know the facts, and go from there.
How about listen to the doctors? That's a good way to do it. And also, maybe listen to Pilsy when he gets into his BetOnline parlay of the day, coming back soon at BetOnline, the #1 sponsor when it comes to online sportsbooks of the Locked On Podcast Network. You can go there right now, betonline.ag, and you can sign up today for a free account. And because you're a listener to Locked On Senators, get this, you're entitled to a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That means if you put in $200, bingo, bango, bongo, you got $100 right there in your account that you can use to pick winners and make money. You put in $100, that's 50 free play dollars right there for you. You know the drill. Head to betonline.ag right now and get in on the action. Make sure you use our promo code as well. It's promo code Locked On. Promo code Locked On. Write that down right now. Promo code Locked On gets you a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. It's BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts.
And guys, one of our top sponsors these days, and it's perfect timing, is DirecTV Stream, because all the sports are coming back. And I mean, football's going on right now, like Ross said. There's the baseball, man, the Jays are. You want to make sure that you're going to get in on the action, whether you're gambling or not, but you at least want to have the opportunity to watch these games. And the best way to watch the games, watch the movies you love, watch the shows you love, all in one convenient place is DirecTV Stream. No more clutter, no more confusion, and you can get all your TV in one convenient spot. Like, having so many remotes, having so many logins, it's just so frustrating when you just got home from work. There's 10 minutes till the Sens game gets on and you're trying to remember your password. Your login's not working. Your device isn't connecting. Get rid of that and get your TV together the proper way with DirecTV Stream. It combines your favorite sports, your favorite movies, and your favorite TV shows. No more juggling remotes. You don't have to buy another device ever again. And the best part is there's no annual contract. So guys, check out DirecTV Stream at directv.com. That's directv.com. Compatible device required. Contents vary by package. Check it out today. DirecTV Stream at directv.com.
All right, Pilsy, we teased it already. The Ottawa Senators are on the ice right now. It's about 11:15 a.m. Eastern as we're recording. So the second group will be on momentarily. Maybe we'll get some extra line combos, but in Group A here, before we get to the line combos, I'm pulling up on YouTube as well. You can see right now, courtesy of the graphic, The Athletic. But Group A, and if you're listening, I'll go through it quickly. Matt Murray and Levi Merilainen were on the ice. Before we get to the rest, let's give you our breaking news when it comes to Matt Murray. The all-white pads are gone. I repeat, the all-white pads are gone, Pilsy. He's got red and black. It's still, pretty simple. I saw somebody on Twitter called it an overtime loss. So you still get a point for them, but it's an improvement. It's an improvement.
Yeah, I mean, he had to do something. Come on. You're a two-time Stanley Cup winner. You got a 4-year deal worth over $20 million, and you're wearing all white pads? Come on. So I'm glad he added a little flair. And I just feel like Matt Murray I feel like he's the kind of guy where he thinks all white pads are sick and that's his style. And he just had so much pressure to put some color into it that he's like, all right, you know what? I'll put a dash of color in here, and that's that. So I'm glad that he's done a little more, and some more updates too with Matt Murray, Ross. It seems like he's put on a little weight. He's got 12 or 13 pounds, which is good. That's his frame, I feel like sometimes was a little bit, he needed to add a little muscle. It seemed like he was very slender, yeah, especially for a tall guy. So I feel like he needed to add some muscle, and he said that he was working with Zach Burke a lot over the summer. So look out, Matt Murray bounce back season on hand here. Yeah,
I hope so. That would go a long way into Ottawa getting in to the postseason. All right, I'll just go with the lineup for Group A, and then we'll pull that graphic up and let you know who the other groups are. So the lines, we've got Nick Paul with Norris and Batherson, I should say, playing left wing, and we knew that was going to come. But this is what I find interesting. I said Parker Kelly, but they did put Logan Brown with a pair of hard workers. The captain of the Belleville Senators in Logan Shaw is going to be his right winger, and Cole Reinhardt, the speed demon, on left wing. I like that combination as well. And of note, Zach Ostapchuk, who played center at the rookie tournament, he's moved over to left wing, and you got to think a part of that is Angus Crookshank's absence. He was scheduled to be in Group A. Awful news regarding Crookshank as well. He's going to be out 4 to 6 months. That sucks. Ostapchuk, however, playing left wing with Mark Kaslich and Carson Latimer. So the dub line, 3 WHL alumni there. On defense, the NHL pairing here, which we also knew is going to be the shutdown role here, is Michael Del Zotto with Nikita Zaitsev, then Nick Holden as the veteran presence, getting to play with Lassie Thompson. I like that. Yin and yang of a rookie with a veteran. And then Chandler Romeo, who impressed me during rookie tournament. He's going to play with Colby Williams, who's destined for the AHL. So, Pilsy, what do you note from that Group A line combo?
I think the most interesting thing to me, well, and we kind of could have figured it out by default, but is that Delzato-Zaitsev pairing. That's going to be very interesting because Zaitsev, I feel like he's kind of bounced around between partners a little bit here, and he was with Chabot for a bunch, but they're going with Zub with Chabot this time, so we'll see how Delzato goes with Zaitsev. I think that could be a line that, if they're used properly, could be effective.
Just before I move on to the next group, Josh Norris speaking to the media right now, mentioning, no surprise, Nick Paul does it all. He won the fitness testing for his second year in a row.
Of course, man.
Yeah, the guy's got the hardest shot on the team. He's a freak in the gym. And why don't I go back to our bold predictions? If you haven't, go check out our episode on Tuesday. We had our bold predictions. I'm saying big-time breakout year for Nick Paul. I'm saying, what do you have last year? How many goals?
Let's check here. I've got their stats up.
Because he's due, man. This guy, we know that he can contribute on the PK, but okay, he had 5 goals, 15 assists, 20 points in 56 games. His best NHL season was 9 goals. Wow, he played 56 games in that COVID shortened year as well. Right. Amazing that he's only 1 year. Last year was his first time not playing AHL games in a season. 5 straight years with AHL games. I'm going to say at least double-digit goals. I'll go as high as 18 goals for Nick Paul, especially if he ends up starting the season on the top line, although we hope that's not the case. Nick Paul does it all, man. So he wins the fitness testing there. All right, pulling it back up. We'll just quickly go through the other groups. Josh Brown, JBD, Eric Brandstrom, Victor Mete. There's a couple other names, but doesn't it feel like all of those players are fighting for 1, maybe 2 spots on the back end?
That's why I thought it was hilarious that they put them all together. I thought you would kind of put them up against each other, but putting them together, I guess you're going to see who can really shine and show that they're deserving of that spot. But yeah, I really want Brandstrom to get his opportunity, but
Me too.
I don't think it's going to happen off the bat, which is unfortunate. But you know what? Also, maybe if Brandstrom starts the year in Belleville, it's not the worst thing because they can get a kickstart to their season and start feeling good. And then he can feel good and he can be brought up and they can figure out the contract later. Because if the Sens end up losing Nick Holden, it's not the worst thing in my books.
Yeah, I agree on that on all accounts, but it's not bad having a guy like Nick Holden in training camp either, right, Pilsy?
For sure.
Because he's a guy who's been through it. He's got the most games played out of anyone not named Michael Delzato on this entire roster. So to me, Group A is like the high-end guys, although Marilainen's playing with Murray, but Group B's got the 2 Belleville goalies, Gustafsson and Mad Sogard there. And at forward in that group, Alex Formanton, Ridley Gregg, Roby Yarventi, Tyler Ennis, Chris Tierney, Igor Sokolov, among others. So I'm interested to see how that squad comes together because if you look at the pieces, wouldn't it be Tierney, Formanton, and Ennis as kind of a third line here? But then DJ Smith said he's going to get a chance on the second line, but Tierney's not even in the same group as Connor Brown and Tim Stützle.
Yeah, that is confusing. I'm not sure what how they go into deciding these groups, but I would say for sure Group B is the most intriguing. Like there's the most questions and storylines there. There's going to be a lot of interesting battles going on there.
Outside of, and by the way, it looks like there's been a couple changes to this because Carson Latimer was on the ice in Group A, but he's listed as Group C here. And Parker Kelly was listed with Group A, but he's not there. So maybe Tierney is there. So maybe this is already a little dated, but Group C, what I found interesting is it has Stützle and Connor Brown, but also Pinto and Colin White. So to me, that would signal otherwise, whereas you're going to. So anyways, we'll have to wait and see. Tomorrow on Locked On Senators, we will have a full breakdown once all 3 of the groups are on the ice, and may as well tease it now. Flash Formanton Friday, Alex Formanton. Awesome interview. Like if you listen to Tyler Boucher yesterday, great kid. Don't get me wrong, but you can tell he's 19 years old. He's shy. He's making his first introduction to Sens fans, whereas Alex Formanton's played 2 full seasons in the organization. Well, more. Well, 2 full seasons, more if you go back to, we talked to him about being the youngest player in franchise history to play a game. And Pilsy, you were shocked when I told you that too.
I couldn't believe it. Like, I totally forgot that kind of saga of Alex Formenton. Like, he was
McDavid likes speed.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
we asked him about that.
He was the first wave. Like, him and Colin White were the first wave
Yeah.
of the rebuild being impacted in the NHL. And
Yeah.
let's just say Pierre Dorion and the staff have a much better approach to developing prospects and bringing them to the NHL rather than giving Formenton like one game and then 3 weeks on the road with the team. I don't know. Like, it's not the worst thing, but also it didn't exactly make a lot of sense.
You don't give steak to a baby. Don't you remember that classic Guy Boucher-ism?
Yeah, honestly. So I'm glad they're past that. And as far as Tyler Boucher goes, I think also he's very media groomed, right? Like, when you have a dad that's been in the NHL for 13 years,
been between the benches for another
and
decade.
is also now a part of a broadcast team, your son is going to understand, like the classic hockey political correctness and just humble, easy answer. So I think we got a bit of that there. And I think as time goes on and as our relationship grows, we can loosen him up a little for sure. But it was still great to talk to him and great to show him, introduce him to you guys as Sens fans. Yeah.
And I think we built a bit of a rapport with him afterwards. We had a couple great stories back and forth. We'll keep to ourselves, but he's an absolute beauty, and Sens fans are going to be really excited as he makes his impact first in college and then heading back to the National Hockey League. Okay, Pilsy, one more. We're coming across the wire right now. Matt Murray, you mentioned he's gained a bit of weight, 13 pounds, he said. I don't know if you brought up the number before, but that's a lot of weight to be trucking around. So hopefully Matt Murray is ready to rock and roll come October 14th. We know that Matt Murray had a long drive from his home in Thunder Bay to get to training camp. And if his car ever had any issues, you know he's calling Rock Auto at rockauto.com. It's the easy family business that serves auto parts to customers online. They've been doing it for 20 years. That's a long time. Go to rockauto.com right now and shop for auto and body parts from hundreds of manufacturers. They have everything from engine control modules, brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, even get your new carpet there. And whether it's for your classic or daily drive, get everything you need in a few easy clicks delivered directly to your door. The rockauto.com catalog is unique and remarkably easy to navigate. Quickly see all the parts available for your vehicle and choose the brands, specifications, and prices you prefer. Prices, let's hit on that, because prices at rockauto.com are always reliably low, and the same for professionals and do-it-yourselfers. Why spend up to twice as much for the same parts? Don't do it. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. All we ask is that you put locked on in their "How did you hear about us" box, so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com and tell them Locked On sent you. All right, Pilsy, back to our organizational value rankings. We took yesterday off because we had too much to get to. It was the first day of training camp, storylines aplenty. So head over. If you missed yesterday's episode, you can catch up on any episode of Locked On Senators wherever you download your podcast. And we appreciate you making Locked On Senators your first listen of your day, because we're here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, your number one home for all things Senators on a daily basis from fans who have lived, breathed, and died Senators hockey since 92. Well, I was born in 92, so close to it, Pilsy. I actually, unpacking as I make my move to Winnipeg, I found my first ever Senators jerseys from when I was six years old.
What,
on
Pitlick?
The back, on the white one, Lance Pitlick, number 2 with the A. And this was before stitching or anything. Especially my dad was like, it's a kid's jersey. Just steam the number on the back. Like, it's one of those, like, you could just rip it off if you wanted to. So I found 3 jerseys. One of them wasn't like from when I was really little, but the other one was the old black one. And when I'm going to be in my place tomorrow and we'll show you just what it is. Or it might be Monday actually, but the other one, an Alexei Yashin with the C on the front. Yep.
I don't know whether that's sweet or gross.
I know. Here, I'll make up for it. I've got, the black one with like the gold trim around the bottom. I've got one with Zdeno Chara on the back.
That's sick.
I pulled it out and I was like, this is from like 2002 and he's still playing.
Yeah.
Like, that's absolutely unbelievable.
It's wild. So wait, when you're going through your stuff, did you find your Ray Emery card or
I
giveaway?
haven't yet, but Trevor McNeil's got it signed, sealed, and delivered. It's heading to Cape Breton, so we know it's going to a good home up there. And remember, once we get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, We're going to pick someone who comments often. So make sure you're commenting on our YouTube videos, and you're going to come to a game on us at the CTC.
The ticket is on us.
The ticket, yeah.
If Ash Roger wins, sorry, we can't fly you from Baruga to Ottawa for a game, unfortunately.
Sorry, mate, but hey, it'd be awesome if he could get overseas, or UK Senator, all the great Sens Central citizens we've had. Once there's more of a structure, once the season gets underway, we're going to bring back Sens Central citizens every single Monday. But for now, we get back to our organizational value rankings. We've climbed all the way from 59, Pilsy? I feel like we've been doing 61? This forever.
Something like that.
61, yeah, exactly. Well, we're at number 13 right now, down 2 spots. I think his contract and, well, his play the last 2 years has a lot to say about that. It's Colin White. Pilsy, Colin White I have listed as C/right wing. We know he's been a center, but do you think that his game might translate better if they move him to the wing?
Yeah, I think so for sure. And especially, you know, I hate to harp on the guy. We'll get to some positives for sure later on. But like, as a centerman, you're relied upon to roam around the ice, and you're not as structurally sound. And I think Colin White struggles with that. And that's where the giveaways happen, right? Like, he's kind of, he's going in the corner for a puck battle. He wins the battle, and then he doesn't really know what to do with it. And he ends up just trying to send it up ice, and the other team picks it off and scores. We saw that so many times. And I just think his style of play, unfortunately, isn't up to par for him to succeed as a centerman. I think eventually he can be an effective third line right winger, but I don't know if he's going to be that centerman, which is tough. Like, man, think of all these guys the Sens have drafted in the first round that are meant to be centermen, and it just hasn't quite worked out for them. So eventually they're going to have to find their true centerman that's going to work for them. But I don't think it's going to work out for Colin White, and I wouldn't mind if he spent a little bit more time on the right wing this season if need be.
Yeah, the face-off percentage has never climbed over 50. So from that standpoint, it's not like there's other parts of his game like pace and dishing the puck and vision that you're like, okay, we can do without the face-offs because he's this.
Yep.
I don't even think he's been as advertised when it comes to being as defensively responsible as he was touted on his way up. He was unreal at Boston College. He was awesome at the World Juniors. Wore a letter over Austin Matthews when he was there in 2018, the year that Shabbat won MVP of the World Juniors. They had that great battle in the gold medal game. That was a classic. I believe it was in Montreal, that game. So when you look at how his career's gone, from playing, what was it, 2 minutes in that one game he was in the lineup against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, oh my God.
I guess 2 minutes and 44 seconds. Hell, Chris Kelly played more during that run than Colin White, but it got him a taste. And then, I mean, who better to start your NHL career with full time than with Mark Stone? So the numbers get inflated. He gets over 40 points, and then it just dropped off. So from one standpoint, it was awesome to see somebody commit to the Senators long term. But now 2 years later, you're like, wow, should they have committed that money long term?
I know, yeah.
It's kind of Murphy's Law there, where you can't win either way, because had they let Colin White go, it would be like, oh, first round pick, or even a bridge deal. It's like first round pick, like lock him up. But then now we're seeing kind of the flip side of when you lock up a guy and he doesn't live up to those expectations. However, from the sounds of it, there were injuries last year. Well, we saw a few of them. The guy got hit in the head with a slap shot, for crying out loud.
Man.
So
yeah.
I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. And that's why, I mean, we're talking pretty negatively about his game right now, but he's still 13th on our organizational value rankings. There is still value in Colin White, but that's why I think maybe a change of position would help him. Now, he played the middle of the ice last year, but didn't take that many faceoffs. He's a right-hand shot, and whenever the faceoff was in the left circle, Nick Paul does it all, so he would take it. But I think it's time to get Nick Paul at center full-time. You already have a ton of left-wing depth. Brady, Timmy, Formanton. Why not just have Nick Paul slide over to center, move Colin White to the right wing where there is a hole as well? I don't see why there's such a holdup. I mean, we'll see if he gets a shot with Stützle and Connor Brown, as we talked about earlier in the show. But I think that would be a great third line. Take some pressure off Colin White, and maybe he'll produce a bit better.
Yep, I fully agree. Yeah, and Nick Paul's a big guy. Like, he can handle being a centerman in the NHL. When he is a centerman, he usually does pretty well. So I agree. I think that's a good idea. Will the Sens do it, and when will they do it? I'm not really sure. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't want people to think we're like so down on Colin White. But the thing is also, I'm at a point with him where the success and failure of Colin White doesn't really move the needle of the Ottawa Senators that much. You know what I mean? Like if he has a good year, it's not like we're playoff bound. And if he has a terrible year, it's not like, well, the rebuild is back on, like, you know. So I think he's a guy, he's going to be a depth player. And I think, you know, the contract is tough, but like you said, he was kind of the sacrificial lamb. Like he was the guy that said, all right, you know what, I'll be the first guy to lock in here, and hopefully the rest of the team will follow. So I don't hate the contract. I don't love it. I think Colin White is just a very like neutral guy for me. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, well, let's move up to number 12 then. Up 13 spots, and we basically just talked about him, so we don't have to sit too long on this one. But Nick Paul does it all. He's going into a contract year right now, and this guy, I think he's quickly becoming a fan favorite. He's a guy who seems wholesome away from the rink if you follow him on social media. He's made Ottawa his home permanently. He spends his entire offseason here training. The guy's a freak in the gym, winning fitness test after fitness test. He's got the hardest shot on the team. He's one of the best penalty killers on the team. And I wouldn't be surprised if the guy gets some power play time this year, parking his big body in front of the net. So the World Championships, how can it not give him so much confidence, scoring the golden goal? That's awesome. So let's see how much Nick Paul, not if, but how much he can accelerate his game even further.
That's a good point. I actually kind of forgot about that. That's a big deal. And Connor Brown assisted on it, no?
Yeah, give and go. Give and gold.
Yeah. Wow, I totally forgot about that. That was an epic moment. So yeah, like that's great for Nick Paul. And I think, you know, last year we talked about it. We thought like 5 goals, that's it. But we also have to look at his usage, right? Like he was used in a very bottom 6 role, penalty killing role. So maybe now with a little more confidence from the coaching staff. I mean, DJ Smith talks about Nick Paul like he's like his shining oldest son. You know what I mean? Like he's going to inherit the farm or something.
He's Guy Boucher's Tom Pyatt.
Yeah,
and
but
I'd much rather have Nick Paul than Tom Pyatt.
I was going to say in like in a sense, in the way they talk about each other. Though. Yeah, true. Yeah, Tom Pyatt, shootout specialist. Nick Paul, I'm not sure about that. But yeah, we love Nick Paul. Sens fans love Nick Paul. DJ Smith loves Nick Paul. Great guy all around.
And he's got a letter, man. He's got a letter. Like, let's go. That just tells you what to think. And by the way, once we finish up our organizational value rankings, Group B lines are out. So stay tuned for the second group. Brandstrom, Mete, JBD. How are those guys lining up? Stay tuned for that. But before we get there, let's go to number 11. Zub Nation, stand up. Up 13 spots, just like Nick Paul. It's Artem Zub, just signing a 2-year deal with an annual average of 2.5. Wow. And you know what? Let's start this by going back to his beginning with the Ottawa Senators, because DJ Smith mentioned yesterday, and I love when coaches are willing to admit they made a mistake. He said his biggest mistake, and one of the reasons why it's so important to have preseason games, is that he said Zub didn't stand out in practice. So he was a healthy scratch to start the year. And once he got in, it was top 4 right away. This kid's an absolute star in the making in terms, and not like superstar around the league, maybe a Zuberstar, but this guy is as reliable as they come, and every team needs a player like Zub.
Absolutely, especially on that contract. Like, what a great contract.
Best right shot defenseman. So he's the best player on the team in the most coveted position outside of goalie friendly show.
Yeah, and like I love hearing that too from DJ Smith, right? Like fans were like, we were all so confused. Like, is Artem Zub injured? Like, did he get in a fight with the coaching staff? Like, why are they not playing him when we're seeing Coburn and Gabranson being trotted out there and the Edmonton Oilers scoring 9 freaking goals on this team? Like, this is something that I mentioned at the start of last season. Like, those first 10, maybe even 15 games were essentially the Sens preseason, and it was apparent.
Didn't go well.
Yeah, like it was very clear that that's what was happening. So I think now you got a good training camp. The guys are coming off a hot finish last season. Artem Zub is such a valuable part of this team. I'm so glad that the Sens were able to win the Artem Zub sweepstakes, and he saw the potential to come here. And I think it's just worked out so great for both sides. And Pierre Dorion was very happy about Zub in the press conference as well. He had a lot of good things to say. So I think Artem Zub, I really hope that this is a guy we see sign a big deal after this one's done. Like, get him long term after this, I would say.
So Also, we know the Sens had that big road trip at the start of last year when things were really going poorly. But I did find it of note that in 24 home games versus 23 road games, he had the same amount of points. By the way, all 3 of his goals coming on the road, including that beauty in the it was 5-1 game against the Leafs, backhand, forehand, tuck
Out of
on
the
a
box,
breakaway.
too. Oh.
I'm pretty sure that goal sent Freddie Anderson to Carolina. Cannot confirm or deny that. But in the 24 games at home, he was plus 11. In the 23 games on the road, he was minus 7, which is kind of strange. But then again, DJ Smith's getting the matchup he wants on home ice. But why it's strange is because the matchup he wanted, Zub often played against the toughest competition on the other team. So let's see what he can do. Because in February, he played 1 game in January, point per game is that good. But in February, had 13 games. He averaged 16 minutes and 14 seconds. In April, he played 14 games and averaged almost 19 minutes. So talk about gaining the trust of the coaching staff. And then in the 6 games in May, when Shabbat was hurt for 4 of them, he played 22-10. And I know lefty-righty, but Zub got a little bit of power play time in that situation as well. So I'm just ecstatic to see what Artem Zub can bring. And get this, out of his 14 points, Pillsy, 7 against the Montreal Canadiens. So just torch them.
Gotta love that. Yeah, talking about Nick Paul and Artem Zub, I feel like are very similar guys, just in forward and defense, right?
Yep,
reliable. They're both and two-way, hey,
the disciple.
So what is that? I was going to say that makes Zub the Messiah, but maybe that's a little far. That's a little too complimentary. But a similar thing, right? Nick Paul, you can be confident in him in a defensive role. But also, if Nick Paul has a breakaway, you're not just automatically saying he's not going to score here. So I think Zub has similar qualities there, and they're both fan favorites. I don't think there's ever been a player where their fans just tweet their name with no context and people just eat it up.
100 likes guaranteed.
Yeah. So Zub Nation, stay strong.
Yeah, Zub Nation, stand up. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have Formy Nation coming up soon after you guys hear him on tomorrow's show, because Alex Formenton is an absolute beauty. He's up 4 spots. He comes in at number 10 on our Senators organizational value rankings. I've forgotten to do all the captions today, but here we go. Alex Formenton, left wing, going into the final year of his contract at 747. This guy's got speed to burn. It was shocking we were able to catch up with him to get him on the show tomorrow. But what are your expectations like for Formy this year?
Well, I'm going to go back to, and if I'm not mistaken, it was Derek Lee whose bold prediction was 20 goals for Formenton, right? Yeah. So I'm going to go back to that and say that's probably on the high end. That's why it's a bold prediction. But definitely I can see him flirting with the 15-goal mark, because this guy's going to score a couple shorties. I'm convinced of that. And he's going to get a bigger role. I think last year he did spend some time on the 4th line. He did spend some time in kind of sheltered minutes and in tight games. Maybe he wasn't being played as much, but I really think this is going to be a big season for him. He's going to be confident. I don't think there's any kind of looking over his shoulder being like, oh, if I have a bad game, am I going to get sent down? I don't think so anymore. I think you can say that he's going to be a consistent NHLer and he fits in the game now. So we could see a big season here, and I'm so excited to see Flash Formenton get into the picture and just get those breakaways. I think it's one of my favorite Sens game moments when you see the moment before Alex Formenton gets one step on the defender. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You laugh. You're like, he thinks he has a chance.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, right as that puck touches Formenton's stick and he lifts his skate off the ground, you're like, oh, he's gone. Boy, he's gone. It's already too late, and the play hasn't even started yet. So I can't wait to see that. Like you'll hear in our interview with Formenton, we absolutely loved watching him in Belleville, and one of the goals he scored there is one of my favorite goals ever.
Yeah, it was amazing. OT to boot. And we'll talk. I was so nervous he was going to be like, what goal? But you remember
if he forgot that goal, I don't know. That's wild, because that was one of the craziest moments up against your Manitoba Moose, Ross.
Ooh, not mine. Disavow. However, if we haven't sold you to listen to tomorrow's interview, but you're a dog person, Dallas. Old Dal makes an appearance. Formy's dog there too. So Alex Formenton coming in at number 10. And I'll say if he does score 15, at least 10 are going to be highlight reel. So, hey, get the cameras rolling whenever Alex Formenton is on the ice. He comes in at number 10. Okay, make sure your Locked On Senators, wherever you get your podcasts. And we do appreciate you making Locked On Senators the #1 listen of the day. We're here Monday through Friday, Pillsy and I, anywhere you get your podcasts or on YouTube. And what we like about doing the show in the morning, so Pillsy and I, we work our normal jobs as well, but we always get up. And while we were recording, it's often during practice. So we get breaking news as it comes, and whether it's a Drake Batherson signing or the first day of skates. And here's our Group B lines. Pillsy, what stands out to you right off the bat there? This is your first time seeing this. There is one notable that you're going to say, what?
Järventie as a centerman?
Oh,
that's the first one that popped out to me. That's interesting. I'd never seen or heard of him playing center. And then having Formenton, White, and Watson, that's very interesting to me as well, because that's almost saying that they're thinking about putting Colin White on a fourth line.
Well,
no?
Or I would more so see this as Austin Watson getting a shot at being the third line right wing.
Yeah, okay, that's better, I guess. That's a better way to
look
that's
at where
that.
The open spot. We had Tyler Ennis in that third line right wing. So I think when you listen to Dorion laud the leadership of Austin Watson, I wouldn't be surprised if they want to do the same thing, kind of having Logan Brown playing with players who are going to push him and push the pace. Well, Colin White could use a little push from behind, and why not have Watson being that leader on the line and having Formenton as a guy who Colin White has to keep up with. But Pillsy, who is Eric Brandstrom paired with?
Dorion introduced him. I think this is one of the newer players. I'm not aware.
He's only here because Josh Brown's sick, not COVID related, but he's out. His name, and I'm probably going to butcher this, Vincent Sévigny.
Okay.
Anyways, assistant captain with the Victoriaville Tigre, and he's going to be going back 19 points in 26 games in the Q last year, 10 points in 19 games on his way to QMJHL championship. So, hey, earning of an opportunity here and a fill-in placeholder. But I want to say that it's a good sign for Brandstrom if he's paired with Josh Brown. And if that's a placeholder for Josh Brown, I would say that's more likely the third pair versus Mete and JBD.
Yeah, definitely. That's fair. I really think JBD, I don't really have him in my mind as an NHLer this season. There's just too many guys, and it's not necessary. And I think it's way better for his development to be a top D guy in Belleville. So I think you might be onto something there. And then Mete, he's kind of found money, right? Like the Sens aren't invested in him. They didn't sign him long-term. They didn't pay a lot to get him. So he's just kind of an extra guy there. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what we see. And we know DJ Smith loved what he saw from Josh Brown at the end of last season. He was paired with Victor Mete, but Eric Brandstrom and Victor Mete, very similar players. So maybe they're thinking that can be a similar spark there.
Yeah. So we will see. But yeah, I just scammed right to Brandstrom's partner. But Järventie at centerman is pretty interesting, I'd say, between Agazzino and Pontus Aberg. The other line here, if you're just listening, is Ridley Gregg in between Tyrell Goulburn, who's on an AHL contract, and Cole Sherwood. So that's a grinding line if I've ever seen one. So lots to dive into. Group C is still awaiting to get on the ice. That'll be later this afternoon. So make sure you're following us on Twitter at Sens Central, and we'll make sure to get you that information as it comes out. But until then, we say goodbye. Make sure you're tuned in tomorrow. Alex Formenton, reaction to day one of training camp, and a preview of the first preseason game that Pillsy and I will be in attendance for. So we'll chat with you tomorrow. Hope you have a great day. Thank you for listening. For Brandon Pillar, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team